Then from Laura Blumenfeld, who is former senior policy advisor on the US State Department's Israeli-Palestinian negotiating team and now a Middle East analyst at Johns Hopkins University. Laura, as Arundai said there, we don't yet know what the conditions are that Israel has agreed to. What do you think they might be, and what will it take to get Hamas on board?
Well, look, Hamas always says yes, but, and I think that's critical here. Last time around in May, the conditions were unacceptable to the United States. So is Hamas, who's just lost this really final key ally in the region, Iran, with the commencement of the 12-day war, they took a brutal beating. Are they going to show more flexibility? They really want those international guarantees that this will be an end of war, not just a ceasefire where Israel's going to pocket the gains and then move back to military maneuvers. The other thing that they want to do is release the hostages in two batches or more actually than the two batches that Israel's demanding. Israel's saying release the first half on the first day and the second half on the seventh day. They'd rather drip them out, drip, drip, so that they can use that as leverage over the Israelis. They feel like they've been outmaneuvered in the past, especially by Benjamin Netanyahu, and they won't be fooled again. That's their approach. The Israelis on the other side, they are looking pretty good right now. Netanyahu can finally look at himself in the mirror and say Israel is back. That 12-day war with Iran might have accomplished more than the 20-month war in Gaza. So I think that he's riding high politically. A lot of this is about the domestic politics in Israel, which are favorable right now toward a ceasefire.
But you say he's riding high politically, and his attention, of course, is on his future in Israel. And what does that mean if this war comes to an end?
Well, there's tremendous downsides and political pressure on him to end the war as well. We saw that sort of tremendous domination of the skies over Tehran by the Israeli Air Force. But meanwhile, in Gaza, they lost 7 IDF soldiers, young men. They were between the ages of 19 and 21. It just didn't make the headlines. But for Israelis, every soldier is kind of considered like their own child, and there's a lot of pressure to bring the hostages back as well. So he's caught between a lot of pressures, but ultimately, I think he's looking at Donald Trump, their foxhole buddies. They fought an offensive war together. And on the other side, Qatar, important regional ally to the United States, a rising kind of power politically for the United States. They fought a defensive war with the United States, pushing back when Iran retaliated. So you have sort of a new dynamic following the war, and I am optimistic that this could be the time that we finally bring it over the line.
Okay, so we could bring a ceasefire over the line, but what about the conversation about the long-term plans for Gaza? And that's where things tend to fall apart, doesn't it? Because the previous ceasefire had various phases, and initially everybody could see the initial phase of the ceasefire working because it was just about the cessation of hostilities, some hostages being released, etc. But as soon as you get to the point where you're discussing what is the long-term future for Gaza, a home for Palestinians, that's where the problem lies, doesn't it?
Tremendous debate. I mean, within Israel and also across the region. There was a massive debate, in Israel, inside of Israel's cabinet, where the IDF chief of staff was fighting with the right-wing cabinet members who wanted to permanently occupy Gaza and perhaps colonialize it. And the IDF chief of staff said, no, Hamas is dead. We are endangering our own people by staying there. It is a source of moral corrosion, if not physical corrosion. And then, of course, there's different visions of what to do with Gaza. Donald Trump himself has talked about developing it. Do we take him literally, is what Israelis are asking themselves. Of course, that's kind of a tooth fairy dream that, you wave your magic wand and the people who want to destroy you go away. But that's not realistic for them. They understand that, and it's very dangerous. There are no countries who've stepped forward to say that they'd willingly accept Palestinians who wanted to voluntarily emigrate. So right now there are a lot of kind of visions swirling around. I think what's the most realistic and likely ultimately is you'll have a kind of coalition, whether it's Egypt with the UAE and other Arab countries who can help bring along a moderate Palestinian leadership to take over and really build that society back. I think that's probably what we're looking toward, but it will be, far along on the horizon.
Yeah, and many within Israel, very powerful political leaders, are not happy about that at all, that idea. But we will discuss again in the future. Laura, thank you very much for your time. Laura Blumenfeld there from Johns Hopkins University.